Attention Delaware small business owners. If you're looking to grow in 2025, I encourage you to check out the Delaware Division of Small Business Edge Grant Competition. STEM companies can earn up to $100,000 and entrepreneur class companies up to $50,000. Applicants must employ 10 or fewer individuals, be majority located right here in Delaware, and have been in operation less than 7 years.
For more information, visit de.gov/edge.
The future isn't some distant dream. It's being built right now by real people with bold ideas and real consequences. And today, we're talking to one of them, Dr. Andrew Cottone. He isn't just a scientist, he's an entrepreneur, a visionary, a game changer. As president of Adesis, he led in breakthroughs in advanced chemistry and technology. But now, he's taken on something even bigger, hydrogen energy. His initiative, Aternium, aims to put Delaware at the forefront of clean and renewable power. But for all the excitement surrounding hydrogen energy, there's also fears and misconceptions and lingering skepticism. People hear hydrogen and think of instability and volatility and even danger. Is it safe? Can it be stored and transported responsibly? Will it actually work? Today, we separate fact from fiction. Will we seize this opportunity or let it slip away? That and so much more right here on the agenda. Dr. Cottone, welcome to the agenda.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And we're always trying to ensure that our viewers know what's going on. And there's a lot of legislation here at play. People say, why are we talking about hydrogen on this show? But it is a source of energy that's not widely used in our country, but it is something that is on the forefront of technology. And I think that our Delawareans, as well as all of our viewers, need to know more about it. The other part is there's not a lot of folks out there spreading the correct information about the message. It's a lot of hearsay and possible just mess. So I think it's best to hear it straight from the source. So thank you for coming on and kind of clearing that up for us.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm definitely going to do that. And I think this is exactly in our mission, and one of our founding values is transparency, so that we're out talking about the benefits and any other concerns about hydrogen and how we're going to do things responsibly. So we welcome all the hard questions, easy questions too, but I feel it's my duty to talk to the citizens of the state where we want to build so that the communities hopefully welcome us into their areas.
So tell us a little bit about your company.
Right, we are going to harness the power of water, pass electricity over water, form hydrogen and oxygen, sell the hydrogen to sell the oxygen, and we're going to make it from sustainable energy, clean energy. So it's all something that can be done right here in Delaware.
So when people hear that, they're saying, I don't utilize hydrogen now. I don't do, well, why do we need to do this? And why do we need to do it in Delaware? And how does this affect me?
Well, the first place it's going to affect them is that we don't realize the role hydrogen plays in our lives right now. It's already around. And according to an IEA report in 2022, the world used 95 million metric tons of hydrogen. It's already out there. So we know how to use it. We know how to move it. We know what its power can be. And by the way, when you burn hydrogen, all you get back is water, not the carbon dioxide like carbon-based fuels. So it's already out there. But in your introduction, you said something that was key, that we don't use a lot of it in the United States. So this is an opportunity for Delaware. What does it mean for the communities? It means clean energy jobs, six-figure jobs coming to your communities with an industry that's already been established globally that has safety standards, and we know how to run it. It's just simply catching up to where the rest of the world is.
So what is it used for?
You can use it
predominantly.
Well, right now, I look at hydrogen in two ways. It's a molecule that can be used in refining and other oil and petroleum industries. And then in the future, it could be used in transportation. Do you know that hydrogen burns with 3 times the energy of carbon-based fuels? So that means you can go, once all engineering is equal, you can go 3 times as far for the same price. So eventually we're moving towards hydrogen as energy. But right now we're selling hydrogen as a molecule in refining, in steel making, in aluminum, and other hard to decarbonize industries.
So when you're saying, so you're not ready to go up against the oil industry right yet, from what I heard from that, because of that's a lot. That's a big mountain to cross.
There certainly is a huge mountain to cross. And I actually look at the Delaware consumer is interested in the least expensive and clean energy possible. So I look at it as like a farm to table model. How can the Delaware resident get the lowest price energy? By near sourcing the resources that we have. So long term, no, I don't look at us going up against oil and gas. The energy market is plenty big enough for all of us to play. And so what we have to recognize is that Delaware is not sitting on reserves of coal. We're not sitting on reserves of oil. So what is that next generation industry going to be for us? What is our peak to pump moment? We're sitting on reserves of water. Water is the most abundant compound on Earth. Delaware is uniquely positioned to harness that next generation.
So you can use seawater for this, or you can use, does it have, when you say water, tell me a little bit about that.
So the water that we're going to use is going to be extremely pure. So the technology isn't quite ready to use truly wastewater or salt water. But I'm certain that theoretically, theoretically, we're going to be able to get there. It might be 10 years, it might be 50 years, but we will be able to use all sources of water. But what Delaware has the opportunity, and that's why we can strike now, is that yes, we have the oceans right next to us, but we have all the fresh water that is emptying into the Chesapeake and Delaware bays and nobody downstream from us. We have the industry infrastructure here to capitalize on that. And we wouldn't use city water that's going to people's homes. We would use the wastewater. So eventually we can get to where we can use salt water, but we're not there yet.
Legislatively, you're pitching these ideas. There's been several articles and you're a part of several organizations that are cheering you on, but legislatively, how does that look in Dover as far as having those conversations right now?
I actually think the policy makers in Dover are ahead of us. And what I mean by that—
How so, yeah?
Take a look at House Bill 99, which says that the state of Delaware has to reduce our carbon emissions by 50% by 2030 and 100% by 2050. This is a wonderful goal. Yet Delaware imports 80 times more energy than we produce. In other words, 98.7% of our energy comes from out of state. How are we going to hit those policy goals? Aternium is the answer to that. We can start producing our own energy. House Bill 99 is one example. Senator Hansen's leading the Energy Stakeholders Commission, and I sit on a subcommittee for her siting group. So we're already ahead, the policymakers are already ahead of private industry here, and we're the solution to help them catch up.
So what is some of the reluctance, right? That and we're not going to say, and I know you're too candid to tell me that it's all been teddy bears and sunsets in regards to this, but there had to be some pushback. What was some of that pushback? Well,
there's, first of all, you hit one of our second values. You go to our website, you can see what our core values are, and the first one is safety. And you hit on that, and what is that? And it's just like with oil or gas, the power that we harness is released by a flame. Hydrogen's the same way. So we have to be able to control that. So safety is paramount. There's no sensationalizing that. I take safety seriously at my time at Adesis, and we take safety seriously now.
But you can understand the safety concerns that the general public may have of not being well versed in regards to hydrogen, but people think hydrogen, they think of hydrogen bombs. They're thinking things that go boom really, really big, and the consequences of getting it wrong, and so many other, I guess, ideas that may be true or may not be true, but I think that's where most people are, where that's coming from.
Absolutely, and that's why I said at the very beginning, it's my job to go out and be transparent about what we are doing and why it's good, and answer every last question. And I give my word I will do that. But I think when we look around the state, we have to be honest about the number of brownfields that are in this state, and our history, and the natural distrust of something like this. So
Rightfully so.
rightfully so. And so I view that as a greater burden to bring the truth to the residents. And why do they want it? Why would they want something here? It goes beyond six-figure jobs, which we will bring, and which I have brought in my previous company. It goes beyond building trust that's been a long time chopped down.
So where are you planning? You're planning to build a facility now, correct? Or trying to get somewhere in Newcastle County?
That's correct. And in fact, our project has been picked up with some interest through the U.S. Department of Energy and some inkling about the Department of Defense for some funding. So we are currently applying to the Title 17 LPO to build 4 plants at once. We hope to build 2 in Sussex County and 2 in Newcastle County.
Okay.
And they would not simultaneously, but rapid fire succession.
So have you gotten any pushback from the communities in regards to that, or is everybody excited about bringing these six-figure jobs in?
There's definitely what I found is very little pushback from the community, but let's not get it wrong. There's some sensationalism out there and pictures of the Hindenburg. And so we have to deal with that.
All right.
My answer to that is to call out what is good and what is bad, what are the dangers and what are the opportunities. And when I look at the skill sets of this state and what we have successfully done in the chemistry manufacturing industry, we know how to handle it.
We're no strangers to it.
We are not. And so our workforce, that remains, our workforce is perfectly set up for this. In large part, when I've been going around the state and I give presentations on hydrogen early, often, and to anyone who will listen, I find that people generally, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, they're for Delaware. And if we have something that's good for Delaware, we want it.
Yeah.
And so we've been very, very well received by the communities.
So when we're talking about in its initial phases, it sounds like to me that a lot of this is going to be shipped possibly overseas and other than the United States.
No, I'm sorry, no. Much of the hydrogen that we will use, and this is why it's such an economic boon and a competitive advantage for Delaware, is that within 150 miles of Wilmington, Delaware, the industry needs 2,000 metric tons of hydrogen a day.
Businesses or companies, factories or what have you in the surrounding areas of 150 miles need this product right now.
Right now. And our matrix plants, our 4 matrix plants, will only produce 136 metric tons a day. That's the magnitude of this economic opportunity for the state of Delaware. We're essentially the capital of Earth between New York City and Washington, D.C. We will have a deep water port. So then eventually I do want to sign a deal with the ports to ship our hydrogen overseas. But let's take care of decarbonizing the hard to decarbonize industries that have built up a lot of this distrust since the Industrial Revolution. Let's start changing things here and let's make it a real economic opportunity.
So what do you need to be successful? I mean, to really get this going, like, I don't even want to call it a wish list, but what's your desired outcome to get this off the ground and running?
The 3 biggest concerns that I have are going to be, where do we get the electricity from, permitting and regulation, and then distribution. We believe we solved the electricity and the distribution problem. So now what I need to work with, the 2 wish lists, is for the communities. Thank you for the forum today. For communities to engage us early, often ask the hard questions and be satisfied with the answers. And then for the state of Delaware to accelerate the opportunities for permitting. I'm not looking for subsidies. Our business model will stand on its own. I've shown I can run a chemistry manufacturing safely, create the jobs, and engage with the community. We'll repeat that. But let's accelerate Aternium to market. Let's let Delaware be the leader in the hydrogen industry, the inevitable hydrogen industry. So permitting, regulation, and community outreach are going to be huge.
And sometimes competition is that generator. So are we getting a lot of competition from other states? You talked about the 150-mile radius where you can bring your product to market, but they're getting it from someplace else. Where are they currently getting it from?
Yeah, to be honest with you, where they're currently getting it from is from the refining industry and the oil industry. So what happens is you take a carbon-based fuel, you pull the hydrogens. This is not chemical speaking. So
so
you pull the hydrogen
it's
off.
cooked down, right?
It's cooked down, and you release all the carbon dioxide into the air. What we're doing is taking water, splitting it into hydrogen and oxygen. We'll sell the hydrogen. And we all need the oxygen too. So there's no there's no greenhouse gases that are formed.
Form in
So-
the creation of that hydrogen.
That's correct. And then even when you burn it, so hydrogen today is gray hydrogen. You create greenhouse gases when you make it. And then when you burn your oil, methane or something somewhere else, there's more greenhouse gases. The hydrogen is created without greenhouse gases, and it can burn and just produce water. It's too good to be true.
So we talked about the necessity of electricity that has to be used in order to create your product, the end result of your product. Trying to reduce our footprint from electricity, which I think is very, very hard to do, especially as battery-operated vehicles and what have you, and server farms and data and AI and so many other things are coming into play. I don't think we're reducing our footprint in regards to electricity. And your process, it takes a lot of juice to make that happen, right? I'm sorry for the layman term, but our community's pushing back. I know that Newark, the city of Newark really pushed back in regards to having, at that time, it wasn't very clear about who it was. We're pretty sure who it was. A major company wanted to come in and build a server farm in the city limits. And in order to do that, they needed to create a power plant, so to speak, for electricity. It was met with negative results. Frankly, it was met with negative results. I do believe that a lot of that sentiment is still here, especially in the Middletown area, where I reside, actually. So what are some ideas that you have to, I wouldn't say get around it because that's a little mischievous, right? But to deal with some of those issues.
I look at this, thank you. I look at this as the entrepreneur, which is who I am in my spirit. The entrepreneur solves the chicken and the egg problem, which comes first. And that's why I look at my experience, I look at what the state of Delaware brings, I look at the policymakers, and I look what's in our DNA. And this state's perfectly set up to solve this. So how do we do that? Let's study that 2 megawatt wind turbine that we have down in Lewis.
That's being pulled off by current executive orders, right? So
I wasn't aware of that. So, well, I have enough data to study that. Why that is being pulled off, I need to take a look. But wind can generate the electricity. Solar can generate the electricity. There's a nuclear power plant across the river already.
Yes.
I'm not saying build any more, but there's cleaner sources of energy that we can pull. And economically, I look at onshore wind as being very viable. That being said, there are other ways to generate the electrons. But the benefit of hydrogen, and it is a net negative energy right now, meaning it takes more energy to make it than the hydrogen will produce. But that's why we're uniquely poised to solve that. But every mile that you move an electron or electricity, you lose 4 or 5%. Every mile that you move gaseous hydrogen, you lose 0%. So hydrogen ultimately will end up being that feed source for our next generation energy. Today, we're not set up for it. Today, we'll focus on decarbonizing the hard to decarbonize industries.
how do you see some of this being used for household uses, right? So when it comes down to talking to the public, I have learned, especially since doing this show, people want to know, how does it affect me? How does it affect me? And the further you get away from how it affects them, the less their interest kind of goes there. But I would, and just from my curiosity, where do you see hydrogen going fairly soon, and how will it affect the Delawarean right now in their homes?
Well, right now, first of all, I'm going to say jobs, jobs, jobs. All right, and we'll build and hire in communities that have normally been omitted from this type of work. And our workforce training programs will focus on just that. Secondly, the infrastructure shows that, and data shows that we can we can blend hydrogen into our existing natural gas pipelines at about 10 or 20%, so that we can start reducing our carbon footprint by that 10 or 20%. And then, since hydrogen burns with more power, that should ultimately, once the infrastructure is up and running, result in reduced cost for the consumer. And the warning sign should be something like California, where the public policy got so far ahead of what industry can do. This is my hypothesis, but the California consumer is paying 23 to 24 cents a kilowatt, versus the rest of the United States, it's 11 or 12 cents a kilowatt, which is right around where Delaware is. Well, that's because the policy got out ahead of where the industry is. So we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. We'll keep the electricity and the energy costs down and hopefully even lower it since we have enough water around to power it.
And what are some practical uses that you foresee people being able to use hydrogen products at home?
Well, today, none, but we have to build towards it, and that's why Delaware can kind of lead that next Pete DuPont moment that attracted all the banks and the companies here. But in the future, hydrogen cars, Toyota and Mercedes-Benz already have hydrogen cars. We already have pipelines that need to be sleeved properly, but we already have pipelines to move that. So anywhere where we can generate electricity that will keep our houses warm in the winter, cool in the summer, power our cars, or move or power equipment used at our docks and DelDOT. So
I believe DelDOT had hydrogen trucks, and I believe some buses are currently, there's some experimenting going on with
DelDOT is looking to bring in DART, sorry.
A lot of D's here in Delaware.
Yes, and I tripped over them. But DART is looking to bring in 5 hydrogen buses, following what SEPTA has done. And the batteries are part of this solution.
Right.
Hydrogen's part of this solution. Oil and gas is part of this solution, because ultimately the Delaware consumer deserves consistent and low-cost electricity or energy.
I know some people that I kicked around the ideas about hydrogen cars, and people were wondering, like, man, what if we run into somebody with a hydrogen car? Is it going to be a big mushroom cloud or a small mushroom cloud?
Yeah, so I'm sure somebody who said to Henry Ford, what is going on with that Model T? My horse is not going to blow up, and I don't need to, right? So, and we have the supply lines for hay and stables all the way from, like Caesar Rodney did, from Wilmington, from Dover to Philadelphia 300 years ago. Again, then I would say, this world uses 95 million metric tons of hydrogen, and you don't hear about that. Yet you hear about Exxon Valdez or Deepwater Horizon natural disasters. And there's hydrogen as a fusion bomb is not going to happen. You need a lot more complex stuff. But will it explode like maybe natural gas does in houses? The good news is we have a lot of that infrastructure in place to keep that safe from not happening. And we know, so is there a potential for something bad? Yes. The likelihood is very, very small. We have natural gas in every house in Delaware. It doesn't become any more or less dangerous with hydrogen doing the same thing.
Yeah, but with time we'll find out. We don't have a lot of hydrogen cars right now, if any that are out there. And I know that you've mentioned Mercedes and Toyota are already working on ideas in regards to that. And
they're already out.
Already out.
They are already out. But the infrastructure, just like a few years ago, for charging your battery cars wasn't around. The infrastructure for charging your hydrogen car, filling up your hydrogen car, which by the way only takes 6 or 7 minutes, very similar to gasoline. It doesn't take, like, I can't park my car in my garage now because my wife is always charging her Tesla. So it doesn't take 4 to 6 hours to charge it. It can be done pretty quickly. We should turn an eye to South Korea, who has a robust hydrogen economy. Now they source their hydrogen from gray methods, but the ability to fill up their cars and the ability to run their society largely on hydrogen is a model for what we can do here, and Delaware should lead the way.
Well, you've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Cottone bringing us information in regards to hydrogen, how it affects you. We really need to start to take a look at newer energy sources, the energy sources that are out there, what's sustainable in our community and what is not. It is those ideas that we are trying to bring you right here on the agenda. As always, if you have any questions or comments or want to reach out to Dr. Cottone, we have his website on the screen, and we'll be able to provide that for you. And any questions you may have, I'm sure that he will respond. So please put them in the chat, and we will chat the next time right here on the agenda.